Hello.
Hi Tanya, I'm Nishita. I'm calling from BoardSpot.
Hi Nishita.
So we were really impressed by your profile and we wanted to give you 10 lakhs per annum and 20 lakhs in stock options.
Oh wow, really? Thank you so much.
Yeah, and
I'm really sorry Nishita, I'm getting a really important call. Can you just hold for a minute?
no problem.
Hello.
Hi Tanya, this is Shivani from Viper Tech.
Hi Shivani.
Tanya, first of all, congratulations. You have been selected as Instagram manager in Viper Tech.
Oh wow, thank you.
You're welcome. So actually, Tanya, we wanted to discuss your salary.
Okay.
Since we are a startup, we can only give you 7 lakhs in the beginning, but we'll be giving you 50 lakhs of company ESOPs.
50 lakhs? That is a lot of money.
Tanya, are you there?
Sorry. Yes, I accept the offer.
Oh, that's great. I'll send you the offer letter and you can join from next week.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye. Congratulations once again.
Hello. Sorry for the delay, Nishita.
No problem, Tanya. So do you accept the offer?
I'm so sorry. I won't be able to accept the offer. I have accepted another offer.
Oh, it's okay. All the best for your future.
Thank you. What? What?
Okay, something was definitely wrong with her expectations about ESOPs. Now the truth is, this is the first de-influencing episode where you don't know how ESOPs work and a lot of people don't know how to select whether ESOPs is something they should consider when they get a job. So in this episode, we'll not only explain how they work, we'll also de-influence you with any myths you had. We'll talk about the good and the bad because certainly no one else will tell you. Let's get started. So how can you turn ESOP into actual money? The answer is, but there are some problems with this. If you're joining a startup solely because of the shares in the company, beware that this could go to zero and you should be okay with it. If you don't buy the shares in the exercise period, then the shares are lapsed. Can ESOPs make you your first crore? The answer is yes. But like any scheme where you can make your first crore, there are a lot of ifs and buts and mugger and ugger. So we'll answer all of that. But before we understand an ESOP, let's understand something you already know. Your salary and your incentive. So why are you really paid your salary? Think about it. You join a company because you are serving a need that the company has. And for this service, the company has hired you and is paying you a fixed salary. Correct? Pretty simple. Now, on top of this, how does the company ensure that you go above and beyond your work or you put in your most on things that really matter? They may set certain targets of work, and if you achieve those targets, not only do you get your salary, you'll get the second form of payment, which is your incentive. So if you excel in certain jobs or tasks in the month or the quarter, and if it hits a certain number, you get an extra push, a cherry on the top, that's your incentive. Now, the company may also give you a year-end bonus, but this obviously differs from company to company. Now that we've understood salary and incentives, they could also be a bonus, there's a third kind, the ESOP. Guys, can we have silence on set, please? Baad mein? So, there is a third kind called ESOPs, and a great way to... Dude, hey, actually what? I'll just use the pizza as an example. It'll work, I think. Excuse me, can we eat this? Uthana isko, please. Uthao. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Right here. This is mine now. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so the way you think about an ESOP or an employee stock option plan is exactly like shares in a company. So if you go and buy one share of Reliance, you are now an owner of Reliance, albeit a small one, but an owner represented by one share. This pizza is exactly like the shares of a company. I have 12 slices over here representing the 100% shareholding of one private company. And let's say we have two founders who begin this company. Let's assume that there is no investor in this case, it's just easier to calculate. Let's also assume they're equal shareholders and they each own 6 slices of pizza. Now, these two guys have one problem. The problem is they're not able to attract enough talent. So they think since they have this groundbreaking idea, they will give shares of this company, which is right now worth nothing, to these other employees. And these other employees, let's say, are these two guys. These two people now own shares of the company. How much should we give them? Should we divide the entire pie and make it equal? Of course not, because the founders have taken more risk than the employees. Maybe they started the company a couple years ago, maybe they didn't take salary, etc., etc. The risk was higher. So what they do is they take out one slice over here, this one slice, and call it the employee stock option pool. This one slice will be divided amongst all the employees they hire in the future. Now the beauty is this. In the one chance, in the faint chance that this company does extremely well, and when I say extremely well, I mean financially, in that event, the employees participate in that upside. But remember this, when you get an ESOP, you're not only taking risk because it could go to zero, you're also participating in a theoretically unlimited upside. So why do founders give...
Explanation ho gaya to pizza re.
Yeah, okay, fine. So why do founders give away their precious shares to employees? There must be some reason, right? The first reason is to retain good talent. And this is for good reason, right? I mean, if you want to retain talent, they must feel like they own part of the company, and they must feel like there is some upside beyond just their salary and their incentive. They feel if the company does well, they will be rewarded. So this is a great way to retain talent. The second reason is probably the most important reason, and that's to feel like you're an owner of the company. Think about how many of your friends work in dull, lifeless jobs thinking, bhai, weekend aaja, I'll enjoy myself in the weekend because I have to work from Monday to Friday. What if this was flipped? What if your hobby was actually your job and you truly, really enjoyed it? Well, one way to do that is the reason we like music, art, dance, and to create stuff is because we can call it our own. There is a sense of ownership in art, which is why we love art. But in many cases in corporate life, you feel like a cog in the wheel. It doesn't feel like you own it. One way to show ownership is to actually give the employees ownership. Once they have it, and a little part of their job, not entirely, but a little part of their job is art, they feel and work better. And who wins in the end? The employee wins because he's loving his job. And second, the company wins because they're getting better output because everyone feels like they're an owner. Sure, the founders have to give away a lot to get this, but isn't it worth it? The last reason is, if the company cannot afford a full salary, they say, hey, you come in half and the rest you can take as ESOP. And that's the way the company can hire good talent. Hold on. This may be a reason, but honestly, it's a huge red flag. Basically, someone trying to get you at a cheaper, lower rate and compensating with a lot of ESOP may not be best, especially if the company is new. So this sounds like a red flag, and you should definitely think about it before you consider it if this happens in your life. So how can you turn this piece of paper, the ESOP, into actual money? How can you liquidate it? How can you sell it? How do you exit? The answer is on this board. How can an employee liquidate ESOPs? So think of it like this. Remove employees and turn it into founder/investor. So one of the ways is the stock market. If the company is listed, let's say you're working at Google and you get shares, you can just simply go to the market and sell it. It's right there. If it's a listed company, it becomes a little simpler. Another way is an IPO. Basically, if the private company you are working with had shares and it IPOs, you can sell it again in the stock market. So that works too. Another way is an acquisition. An acquisition is simply the acquisition of shares or that entire pizza. And in that pizza, your ESOPs also exist. So you also get an exit there. Of course, there are different versions of this, but well, that is one way. Then we have buyback by the company. If the company has cash from profits or otherwise, they can use that money to buy those shares back from you. So remember, ESOPs are like shares. So the same way the founders and the investors exit is the same way you exit. But there are some problems with this. Let's talk about that. The first problem is a substitute for your salary. So if anyone says that these shares is a substitute for your salary, please come and join my startup, That's not a good thing. The problem here is very simple. Your basic needs should be covered by a fixed portion. That's your salary, incentives, bonus, whatever. The ESOP you have to assume could become zero and it will not affect you. For example, look at Flipkart and Walmart. There was an acquisition there. Walmart said they will buy only 30% of the vested shares of Flipkart. Now, this is not in control of the employees. The board decided it and that's the rule. So if you're joining a startup solely because of the shares in the company, beware that this could go to zero and you should be okay with it. That brings us to point number 2, the cliff and vesting period. Basically, actually that's a good way. Hey, listen, hey, come here. So basically, a cliff and vesting period is really interesting. And I'll explain how it works. Let's suppose this guy, say hi. He has shares worth, let's say, 30 lakh rupees. And this slice of pizza represents his ESOPs, right? Now the thing is, abhi kya kar rahe ho? Pizza kha rahe ho? Nahi. No, Meisa. Abhi tumhara cliff chal raha hai. Not allowed. The cliff basically says, if there's a 1-year cliff, it means you are not eligible to get the ESOPs. So I have the worth here, but 1 saal baad. But after a year, his vesting begins. So what I'll do is, I can divide this pizza into another 3 parts. So if I divide part 1 and I divide another part 2, as soon as 1 year is over, you can pick up 1 slice. This is now vested because he's been here for a year. After year 2, he can pick up the second slice, which is another 33%. And after year 3, he can pick the third slice. And that's what cliff investing is. This is how you make sure that you earn your shares in the company by working over a period of time and building things versus just getting it like a salary. You can put it back now. And if you think only employees are going through this, guys, there are a lot of founders who raise money from very large VCs and their own shares go into founder vesting.
Sir, आप slice खा लो.
Kyun? Because vesting ho gaya? Nahi. Now we'll talk about exercise price and exercise period. It's very simple. The value of each of these slices is 10 lakh rupees. 10 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 10 lakhs. But these are shares, so you have to buy the shares, right? ऐसे तो नहीं मिल जाएगा आपको. So there'll be an exercise price. Remember, you don't have stocks. You have ESOPs, which are stock options. You have the option to buy it. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. So each stock I'll offer to you at an exercise price of 1,000 rupees. So you can buy all 3 for 3,000 rupees. So that's the exercise price. And then there's exercise period, where you're allowed to buy these shares, and that's called the exercise period. So companies do this exercise period and exercise price at different ways. So everyone has their own rules. And if you don't buy the shares in the exercise period, then the shares are lapsed. So these are just some rules you could know, but to really know the rule, you'll have to ask your company of what their rules are, because it becomes unique for every single company. Cool. Now, once you're ready to exercise it, you can actually eat that slice. So you can go ahead and do that, and brings us to problem number 4, taxes. Let's suppose that this 10 lakh rupees of shares is now vested with you and you exercise it. Once you've exercised it, you will pay to the government your tax slab according to 10 lakhs. And you'll pay that amount and now you own that slice. Feeling good? Now let's say the value of this pizza doubles, therefore the value of this share also doubles. So it's gone from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. Now at this point, the company buys back the shares from you and you now make 20 lakh rupees. But the government says, dude, you paid tax on 10 lakhs. Now it's worth 20, so you've earned that extra 10 lakh rupees. So you've got to pay a short-term capital gain or a long-term capital gain on top of that. In private companies, a short-term capital gain is 2 years, and above that is long-term, and the tax slabs are different. For a short-term, you pay equivalent to your tax slab. For a long-term, you pay 20% flat. For a public company, the rules are a little different, and it's right here. In many cases, the exercise price and the buyback happens at the same time. And if that happens, then this calculation is not valid. You just simply find the gain, pay tax on it, and it's over. So it's a lot more simpler. And finally, I have a checklist. Okay, thanks. Good job. Bye-bye. The checklist is pretty simple. If you're joining a startup or a really large company, these are some things you should think about before you actually accept the ESOP. Point number 1, written promises. If the company says they'll give you ESOP, especially when you've not joined the company, make sure you have physical proof of the promise, either in your offer letter or anything else. Second, accelerated vesting. This means if the company is bought out by another company, you'll start working for the new company and you'll get a new cliff and a new vesting period, which means those numbers increase. So you should know what you're signing up for. Point number 3, find the right balance. If the company you're joining is offering you a really low salary for the ESOPs, make sure you trust that company will grow enough. Also, your in-hand shouldn't be low because how will you manage your own expenses? Number 4, listed companies. If you're joining a listed and valuable company like a Google or Amazon, getting ESOPs is a no-brainer because you can sell it in the open market when you want and you can pay taxes on the profits you book. But having said that, getting ESOPs in a very large company is not as easy as getting ESOPs in a smaller company because a lot of large companies give it to only their prime big management and they get access to it. Also, you should read the ESOP policy document to understand how the ESOP works. I hope this episode was useful. I know a lot of people don't see ESOPs in their lives, but now you know that this tool exists. Let us know what other topics to cover in the comments below. Say the influencing army and see you in the next episode. Workout karte iske baad. Chalo. Is an IPO.
क्या करवा रहा हूँ